Hey, welcome back. This is tutorial 2.1 of book 2. So apparently an investment opportunity has come your way with a grocery chain uh, trying to build a new store that are targeting Hispanic customers in Durant County, Texas. So again, this is a ethnic food store. They have ethnic foods, meats, and so on and so forth. So they're trying to target Hispanics with this store. So what you'll be doing is you'll take some existing data about both chains, which is actually the Pepis Market is the chain you are looking at, and the competition is Buena Vida. So or you'll take these existing locations and their sort of like map how well they are doing. Also, you'll look at the ethnicity of these neighborhoods and see which one would be most receptive to a new store. So this is I open tutorial 2.1 document where the data has already been laid out for me. I have roads, I have census block group which has attribute table, population, white, black, American, Hispanics, and so on and so forth. So this could be pretty useful information. And then what we also have that you don't see in the map is if you go to the list by source tab, that table has not been added to the map. So I'm going to add the table which has all the store information. So this is under data folder under GST2, and this is the food stores Hispanic.csv. So I'm going to add that to the map. Once you add it to the map, you can examine the data itself. We have store names, address, and then you have number of employees, and we have lat longs also. So what we need to do is use this latitude and longitude to actually map the locations of these stores. So I'm gonna click on search here. If you don't find it here, click on Windows and click on search or use Ctrl F, and here I'm gonna look for a tool called make XY event layer. So, or you can just right click on this and click on display XY data. Well, it's the same thing. So once you do that, essentially you are saying X field is longitude and Y field is latitude, and then there is no Z field. And for the coordinate system, I'm going to use the WGS 1984. So I'm going to click on edit. I'm going to click search for WGS 1984. So which would be under geographic coordinate systems under world. I'm gonna use that. Click OK, and then I'm gonna click display data. So the data has been displayed. If you increase the size of these dots to maybe 7 or 8, you will be able to see the stores a little more clearly. So now you got all the stores, but the thing is, this is XY event file, which means this is a temporary file. I'm gonna export this as food stores Hispanic. Food stores Hispanic. If you want, you can export, add it back to the map and delete the temporary layer that we just created, and go back to your display by drawing order tab. And now here what I'm going to do is, let's take a look at the attribute table. We have number of employees and monthly, looks like those are the total monthly salary sort of a thing. So we can create sort of like a proportional symbol, uh, a graduated symbol sort of a thing with this layer. So I'm going to click on symbology. Under quantities, I have graduated symbols where the value is going to be monthly sales, and then I'm gonna change the sizes from 8 to 25, and then number of classifications would be 5. And then I'm gonna change the color to maybe something a little more obvious, and then the layer is drawn and that looks good. So what we need to do is add more information to this map. The census block group layer does offer race information. So what we need to do is take advantage of that. Hispanics, we have the total Hispanics by census block group. So I'm going to click on quantities. Under the graduated colors, I'm going to choose Hispanic for my value field, and then I'm going to if you want, you can change the color, play with the colors. It doesn't really matter which colors you pick at this point. So these are total number of Hispanics by census block group, so which is good information. Another way to look at the same data would be to normalize this by Hispanic population, total population of 2010, and then format these labels as a percentage. This is a fraction, so I'm going to change the number of decimals to maybe 1 or 2 perhaps, and then click OK. And then I'm going to, if you want, you can make them look prettier, but so again, as you can see, this actually gives us a little more clustering, or this is a better variable to actually look at. So now that that's done, you can save your map and provide it. This map can be used for further analysis and see that, okay, this area doesn't really have a good store. Maybe you can explore further possibility of actually opening a store here. There is a huge Hispanic population to the north. Maybe this area could use another store, but we have to look at the demographics a little more, that kind of stuff. So anyways, this is a excellent map. Those two maps can be used, or one of these can be used to actually do more analysis for your site location project. So you save your work and you finish your exercise 2.1 and submit it on Blackboard. So let's work on choosing classes, tutorial 2.2. In this scenario, the city planner has given you several data sets and asked you to determine the best classification method for each one of these data sets. So essentially we need to show the city planner what can be done, and sort of like using our best judgment on what will and what won't work with this analysis. So again, we have census block group and we have parcels for the city of Oleander, Texas. So the first we'll be working with the census block group layer. I'm going to open the attribute table, and since we are trying to map the population of 2010, I'm going to right click and click on statistics. So as I can see, this actually is a sort of a nominal distribution, the bell curve going up and down, and so let's test for this kind of a distribution. Natural breaks would be pretty good. So I'm going to right click and go to properties, and here I'm going to go to categories select my 2010 population. Actually, click on quantities, 2010 population, and here I'm going to click on classify. As you can see, the same data is being displayed here in a different way. And then you see your break values at 1063, 1635, and so on and so forth. So as you can see, you have more less frequency between the between the break values, because there are more data points at the left end of the curve, and then you can see the big jump in the break values towards the end, because it has very few distributions. So let's see how that looks. If you want, you can change the map color, and that seems okay. I can see some pretty good distributions in some of the areas, and that's what I want to essentially see. You can play with all the different distributions and see what works and what doesn't. You can change this to, I don't know, standard deviation, and choose 2 standard deviations. Click on apply. As you can see, no, the patterns are still emerging. The northern parts are highly populated, the southern parts, but again, you can reduce to 1 standard deviation, but it's not extremely different from what we have already done in terms of natural breaks. It's slightly different. So I like this distribution better, because it sort of gives me a better understanding of the area. So you can export this file. Click on export this map as a JPEG into your into your exercise folder. Also, the next one I want to focus on is median age. So I'm going to click on median age, and then I'm going to format this label so that I don't see so many decimal places, and I'm going to choose a different color for this. Maybe something like that would be good. Blue is young, red is old. So I see this is natural breaks distribution. I'm really not seeing the patterns. I do want to really look at, but if you actually change this to equal distribution, that is much worse, because you can't really see any pattern. And this is not the kind of classification method you want to use with this kind of data, which is actually a nominal distribution. You want to use either natural breaks, which actually is good, but it's not really like giving us distinct patterns. So if you want real distinct patterns, maybe you want to go with the quantile distribution and see what that looks like. So that says a lot more about the neighborhoods, and you can see distinct clusters of old and young groups of people. So that's a pretty good map. You can export that. And the next one we do want to analyze is, I'm going to right click and say zoom to make visible, and also right click and zoom to layer. So here we are trying to map the building year built data, analyze the year built data. If I go to the actually zoom to make visible again, I'm going to right click, go to attribute table, year built, click on statistics, and see that some of these have no value or zero value, which cannot be true because either they are built or they are not built. But these zero values are skewing our data a lot more. The frequency distribution is not looking good because of these outliers. So what we need to do is eliminate those in order to give us a decent looking map. Otherwise the map would look something like this. If you do year built, um, let's see what that looks like. I'm gonna right click on each one of the properties of all symbols. I'm gonna say outline width is 0 so that I don't see so much black, and also I'm gonna turn off my major road. You can keep on your major roads perhaps. It's not really giving me, I think the data is a little skewed because of the zero values. So what I'm going to do is right click, open attribute table, click on classify, and if we choose to eliminate zero, that would actually exclusion would give us a much better distribution. So what I'm going to do is since I don't want to actually analyze anything that is built before 1900, I'm gonna say year built anything less than 1900, just eliminate that. Click OK. Doesn't look like our zeros have been eliminated, although they have been eliminated. The distribution diagram did not update itself. So I'm going to click on OK. I'm going to click on classify again. Actually, maybe close this dialog box once more and go back to classify. Now you see the distribution has been updated. So this is a much better distribution and gives us a better idea on what to do with this. So here, even though this is pretty, this is not a since this is yearly data, it would make much better sense if we have the breaks represent the sort of like 10-year, whatever has been built in the last decade or so. It should be much easier to read. So what we will do is click on equal interval, and we will change this to 8 equal intervals, and we'll say 1926, 36, 46, 56 and 2006. So that's a pretty good way to actually represent year built. So I'm going to click on yes, and then I'm going to choose a nice graduating color, monochromatic graduating color, so that I can see the so that's how you actually classify this kind of data. So you export this as a JPEG 2, and then or use like a print screen method to save your work, and then move on to 2.3. So as part of tutorial 2.3, you need to create a series of maps or map series. So the scenario is you're still interested in this investment opportunity presented by the grocery store chain, but you want to see if the idea actually translates, would transfer to other ethnic or racial groups. So what you need to do is you'll create a series of maps showing different ethnic groups in the same county and compare them, and look for other ethnic or racial group that might lend itself to the development of a new chain or specialty grocery store. So sounds good. What we need to do is create a series of maps. So first, create the first map of the series. We know the first map of the series is actually for the total population of 2010. So right click, go to properties, click on quantities. The value field is population of 2010. and then if you want change the colors, it doesn't really matter, and then click OK. So once you have done that, I'm gonna click on insert title, and then double click. You'll change the title to 2010 population, total population, click OK. But the Tarrant County has to be smaller, so you will actually make it look, the Tarrant County is 28, we'll make that 20, and the total populations have to be 28. So we'll change those, and then we'll actually move them in the right order. And now I'm gonna select those two and right click and say align to center, and then I'm gonna move them to the gray center of the gray box. Okay, now that's done. This is the first map. I'm gonna export this export this map as a as a tutorial 2.3 total population, perhaps give it a appropriate name, and then save that. And then I'm gonna right click on the layer, census block layer, and click on copy, and I'm going to right click on the layer, data frame layer, and I'm going to click on paste layers. So I created another layer of the same properties, but here I'm going to use this to create a Hispanic population, map. Again, I'm going to go back to properties. I'm going to classify, national breaks, click OK. But the values changed immediately. But since we need to compare this to the total population, so we need to keep the ranges similar to the total population layer. So I'm going to click on import, click on census block group, which actually we just created, just the classification, and I'm going to click on OK. Population field is Hispanic. I'm going to select Hispanic population, apply population 2010 to Hispanic ranges. So you see, we just imported the entire classification. So now we'll be able to compare this with if we create one more layer and we actually before we do that, change this to 2010 Hispanic population, total Hispanic population, click OK, export this as a PDF. This would become the second map of the series, and then you have to make another copy of the same layer, and then now you're gonna do the same thing for the black population or African American population. And then I'm going to use the same same classification as the other two layers, where I'm going to apply this to the African American fields, click on OK, and now we have the African American population map. So I'm going to change this to black population and then export this as a PDF as well. So that's how you create a series of maps. Another way to copy is drag and drop this layer onto the layout, and then you have created one more a copy of the same layer. So another way of actually making a copy of an existing layer. So now you work on tutorial 2 exercise 2.3 and compare these maps, compare this series of maps and see if these actually the same properties can be transferred, or there could be potential for other stores, sort of a thing. So continuing with tutorial 2.4, where we'll be creating a chat based rendering. So the scenario is where you are continuing with the investment opportunity. You found an area that seems ripe for expansion, but the bankers are considering you for a loan. Also, they want you to make sure that you'll have a chance for a long-term success. So it would be better if the houses in the area are primarily owner occupied, so that the store can build a relationship with the existing customers and keep them coming back for a long time. So essentially owner occupancy is a huge deal, so we have to sort of like show the bank that, or examine this area for owner occupancy. So we'll use the same Hispanic population data, and then there is a series of fields representing occupancy status in that census block group layer, and you'll use to essentially create a pie chart. So what we need to do is create a copy of the layer, and then right click, go to properties, source. Actually, let's make sure these two are the same layer here. Census.gdb. Actually, let's remove this. Let's use the census 2010 layer and go to properties and go to symbology. Under charts, I'm going to use the pie chart, and if I scroll down, I see vacancy, owner occupied and renter occupied. Those are the three fields I want to use to create this pie chart. So which actually combines to a total of, that's the total of 100 or 1, whichever way you want to say it. So I'm going to change the colors that please me. Vacant would be, I don't know, green. Owner occupied is good, so we'll go with an orange, and renter occupied is bad, so I'm gonna go with that, call that out as a blue. So I'm gonna go with those and then actually see what that looks like. Click OK and see what that looks like. So as you can see, we lost our Hispanic population in the background because of certain, we had a background for this layer. So the background will be 0 and the outline width will be 0 as well. Click on apply. So now we can see the Hispanic population, and then you can see the vacancies and renter occupied. These are mostly owner occupied, looks that way anyways. But if you want to go to properties and maybe like display in 3D, maybe tilt it a little more, play with this a little bit, that's fine, you can do that. It looks a little cleaner perhaps, maybe. And then for the size, if you want to like use a varying size of the sum of the fields, which would be a good idea because you want to actually show how big each one. Well, in this case it's really not that useful because most of them are the same size. Maybe you can reduce the minimum value to 7 or something. If you want to control it that way. Still, it's not really, it's too much information. So I'm going to go with a fixed size then click OK, so that all these look pretty similar. So that's 2-4. Now you can actually compare Hispanic population and ownership in the same map, and maybe this will actually convince the bank to give you a loan or approve a loan or approve this project, sort of a thing. So anyways, so that's how you actually add pie charts to your maps. So that's 2-4, and good luck with that. Exercises 2-1, 2-3, 2-4 and 2-2 also, and post them on Blackboard. Thank you.